Welcome to Heroes and Droids, your guide to movies and TV shows about superheroes, sci-fi, Disney, and action, from Marvel to DC, from Star Wars to Star Trek, from James Bond to the Fast and the Furious. We will review theatrical films and streaming delights you care about most. And tonight we are back in Star Wars land. Yes, we're doing the Bad Batch, episode 5, titled Rampage, as we continue their journey. Let's see if we like this. All right. Let me introduce the crew. I am Doc Rotten, and joining me is the Slattman, Chris Slattery. How you doing, sir?
Good. How are you doing, Doc?
I'm doing good. Just enjoying going back to the theater. I have seen 4 movies in the past 3 weeks, and I am so happy.
I can't wait to get back to the theater. Unfortunately, time has not been kind to me, and I have not had a chance to go back yet.
But you will.
But this weekend, I hope so.
Yes. All right. Also joining us is Vanessa, podcasting rockstar and international cosplay queen. How you doing?
And to the end of that, we're going to add Bad Batcha. I want to be a Bad Batcha from now on.
Bad Batcha.
Yeah. Do not from the episode we're reviewing tonight, Doc.
I'm slow. All right. Also joining us is award-winning filmmaker and Star Wars fan Christopher G. Morris. Hi.
Doc is not as perceptive as Omega about things. I think we're starting before he's not very force sensitive.
He only got one talent.
Oh my. That's I don't even know what to do with that information. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to give our first impression of the show. Then we're going to talk about it. During the first impression, we'll be spoiler free. What we talk about will be spoiler full. And then we'll wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score, a 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. Let's do the rundown. What is it? It is Rampage, episode 5. It premiered on Disney Plus May 28th, 2021, directed by Brad Rao and Steward Lee, written by Tamara Becher. I'm going to say Becher. Cast was D. Brady Baker and Michelle Ang, Matthew Wood, and a familiar voice and name, Rhea Perlman. Yes. The Batch strike a deal to take on a mission. I love these synopses that IMDb gives us because they say absolutely nothing. But there is the little guy there, and that's the big surprise of the episode. So it's going to be a lot of fun talking about this. All right, let's do it. Our first impression of Rampage. I don't know why I'm saying it that way, but anyway, I'm going to go with it. All right, Slattman, what was your first impression?
First of all, I want to say that the IMDb little synopsis or summaries are perfect for what the episodes are.
Well, they're pretty succinct, right?
Yeah. It's if there was ever a contest to describe this episode in as few words as possible, IMDb would win. But about the episode, I really liked it. I was telling before we started recording, I said that this was the backstory I never knew I wanted until I saw it. And I'm so happy that we got it. And all of everything that we had, every interaction that we had with the Rancor and the Bad Batch was just pure, like gold. Awesome. It was great. And I loved the episode. I loved the little mission that they had to go on. I loved that they kind of got back to their badass ways. And yes, even though there was a moment where one of them got knocked down, if you go back and watch the A-Team, I'm sure someone got knocked down there every episode too. But yeah, I thought it was fun. I thought it was great.
Pity the fool. All right, let's find out what Vanessa thought as soon as my mouse agrees with me. All right, Vanessa, what was your first impression of Bad Batch episode 5?
I thought this episode was a lot of fun. It was just a straight fun episode. It didn't really push the plot anywhere. We didn't really do much other than this mission that they were on to get some money. I thought it was great. Well, I guess Anne kind of find out more about the bounty hunter that was out after them in the previous episode. But that was just barely holding it together in this episode, because really it's just about fighting and rancors and Sid, the introduction of Sid, who I know we're going to see more of, and I can't wait for. That was a very, very fun character. And we got to see somebody from our other Star Wars properties. A familiar face, a familiar neck, maybe one of the most famous necks in Star Wars.
Neck in Star Wars.
I know.
Oh,
Well, to me, I don't know. I always notice that when I'm like, the name matches the neck.
Oh,
but yeah, I loved it.
loved it. All right, Christopher G. Moore, what about you, sir? What'd you think of Rampage? There he is.
Yeah, well, this is actually what I thought the show was gonna be. I thought it was gonna be like the A Team, where they're going on missions, going to different planets, and then also sometimes the missions they find out, oh well, it's something else. But yeah, I love this, and there's definitely a lot. There's a lot of different references to. There's a lot of Star Wars references to other things, whether it be Clone Wars or Empire Strikes Back, or even video games. Which I did create like a small list of 10 things.
Yes,
right.
I'm so happy.
But
right.
overall, I really enjoyed this. It was definitely a lot of fun. It had some good action moments. We had some really, really cool villains. The alien villains in this were, these almost like slave trader villains, which were kind of cool. They just felt like the normal like villains you'd find in like James Bond films or something, like we're going to whip you, Mr. Bond, type of thing. But yeah, and then of course the little Rancor dude, which I realize a baby Rancor almost looks like a stormtrooper helmet head. But am I wrong?
You're not. No, just said it.
But yeah, I had a lot of fun watching this. I mean, this is the kind of stuff I was hoping it would be. Although, yeah, it doesn't really advance the plot as much. Although, well, I won't say because that would give away one of my 10 things. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, my favorite part's got to be the Rancor Muchi. That you knew that kid, the little green one, wasn't the one they were after as soon as they get there. But yeah, this was a lighter episode and a lot of fun. And it only kind of advances the plot in the very base of it, where they're trying to find out more about Shard and the bounty hunters and what's going on there. But it did bring in some key characters that we love. Bib Fortuna is great in this, and of course Muchi. That was. How can you not love this episode once that happens and it comes busting out, and it's just so much fun. And then the flying around creature, is that the same flying around creature that we saw in one of the early Star Wars episodes, or do I need to segue to Christopher to give us those 10 moments?
Well, that was a Breezak, which is a character, which is an animal we did see in the Clone Wars. I don't know how specifically, but it was in Clone Wars. So yeah, that's one of them.
I'm sure it's also been in comics too. So
probably. I mean, there's a lot of these things that. You want me to just go through some of the 10 things I saw?
I think it's time, sir. You want some music?
It's time for Christopher G. Moore's 10 things about Star Wars in this episode.
I hope I live up to that.
Number 10.
My if you look in Sid's office, her office has all kinds of things, including like clone trooper helmets, as well as a Jedi holocron. So there's a lot of things in the background for that. So that's number 10. Number 9, in her little place, there's a hammerhead, and he's wearing the little blue outfit, the same blue outfit that was on the Kenner figures that we did see. I think was that the last season of Clone Wars? I think that showed up in that. Number 8, Wrecker references Kuat, which is a planet that's been referenced in previously on the Clone Wars. Number 7, we finally get the name of the droid, the Gonk droid.
Yeah,
It's Gonky.
Yeah,
Gonk.
Number 6, we get the reference of the Bounty Hunter Guild. Number 5, they actually mentioned Fennec's name for the first time in this series, even though we knew who she was. Number 4, the shot collars that they wear are the same shot collars that Obi-Wan and Ahsoka had in, I think, season 4 of the Clone Wars.
Yeah, there was a whole episode or a whole arc where they were sent to the home planet of the slavers, and they were all put into the same shock collars and stuff. Anakin even too.
And I think the aliens that were slaves, the little family or whatever, I think those are called Phalenes, which are aliens that have been shown up in that universe. Of course, number 3, we have Bib Fortuna showing up in all his glory, and it actually is voiced by Matthew Wood, who voiced him in The Mandalorian and also voiced General Grievous in the prequels. Wow. Let's see. I'm not even sure what I wrote there. We'll do the Brezak monsters number 2 because I don't even know what I can't even read my own writing. Actually, my favorite thing that was mentioned is something that comes close to my heart as someone who grew up playing Star Wars games in the early days. The planet they go to, Ord Mantell, is a planet that first showed up in Shadows of the Empire for Nintendo 64.
Oh, wow.
That Dash Rendar went to. And it also, I think, showed up in the Jango Fett comic, I think, as well. But that is probably that's my favorite. Well, actually, number 2, I think I remember it. Of course, we have Muchi, the Rancor. But that's not the same Rancor so don't get all upset that that's the Rancor that Luke Skywalker kills later on. She's a female Rancor, so that's not the same Rancor that gets killed in Return of the Jedi. So for those people that are like, Star Wars pedo, whatever, if you're worried about that character, like, that character's gonna get killed later on, even though we introduced it. So yeah, I think that's my 10. But yeah, the Shadows of the Empire reference for me was like, I played that game religiously on the Nintendo 64. That's like one of my favorite games of all time. I always wish that they made that into like a series or a movie.
There's a book.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And so call me, Lucasfilm. Call me.
I remember that Ord Mantell from the Star Wars CCG, the collectible card game. It was one of the planets that
there you go. I mean, it's been sprinkled, but I think it was first shown in Shadows Empire, that video game that I played religiously as a kid, and I think they reused Empire Strikes Back music in that so much that every time I hear the music, I always think of playing the video game.
So one of the key moments in this episode for me, and I want you guys to jump in on this, is that Omega is the one that figures out who Sid is, right? And she's the smart one. Now,
or Force sensitivity.
Yeah. No. Well. Okay. Jump on that. Is she, or is she just a little smarter than these?
Well, but wouldn't you think that the Hunter or whatever would be able to? I mean, he's a freaking tracker.
He's a tracker, yeah.
So I mean, you think that he would figure it out? So I don't know.
She's so much more perceptive at this point.
She is very perceptive, but I really feel that
there's perceptive, Force sensitive children.
Look at it. He's going to sell it. He's going to sell it.
I believe she's Force sensitive, but I think they just haven't. They're going to reveal it at some point. Of course, we have 13 million episodes to go, so
yeah. We better see tiny Omega armor in the next episode. You can't be taking her on missions and not put her in some armor.
She's got a weapon.
Got the arm piece.
Oh yeah, okay.
And she's got her bow now. That's right.
I have my bow.
She's gonna Katniss this.
Yeah, right.
Katniss.
Oh.
Well, what is that bow, Slattman? Is that? I mean, she just
I
found
don't
it, right?
I've never seen it in Star Wars before. Dave Filoni made something new, and it
God bless.
fits.
They were like, we need something new for the action figures. So that feels like something they created just so
Make it
they'd have a
a-
new weapon they make
a
an
light
Might
action
be.
figure from.
bow.
Might be. That's a new toy. You can get.
They're
one.
well, correct me if I'm wrong, Christopher G. Moore, but I'm pretty sure that we have seen other like slingshot-esque things that look similar to that, where you pull it back and it just shoots like a low energy blast, not enough to like be like a blaster bolt to hurt somebody, but
Yeah, I think when I first saw that weapon, I was like, I'm wondering if
I know who had it. It was Ezra. Ezra in the first season of Rebels has a little slingshot that acts similar to that, but his is just slingshot, not an actual bow. So
did they have laser whips? Has there been laser
Ezra?
whips?
No.
Has there been laser whips in Clone Wars?
yeah,
I haven't really watched all the Clone Wars, so I can't really say for sure, but that seems like something that probably would have popped up at some point previously.
Indiana Jones in it.
Oh man. All right, so before we get to Muchi, let's talk about Sid herself. Vanessa, you said that you definitely want to see Sid again. I feel like that's definitely going to happen. What's your take?
Well, I don't know. I just like her. I like that type of character. I like that she's sneaky and she has her secrets and she can get her information, and you don't know whether or not you can fully trust her. But you can trust her to get what you need, if that makes sense.
As long as she needs something.
As long as you can do something for her too. Yeah. And I think Rhea Perlman, the minute I heard her open her mouth, I was like, who is that? Who is that? And then when I read who it was, I was like, that's perfect. Perfect.
I hope we see it again. All right. Okay, let's end this up with talking about Muchi. Wasn't that the greatest thing to see coming out? Because I had no idea what was going to be in that cage. And when it came out, I was like, oh yeah, that's absolutely perfect. Especially because we've been teased who was with a hologram, right? And we knew that it was speaking Hut, but we didn't know if and you kind of thought
I knew it was Bib.
Did you?
I knew
yeah,
right
yeah.
off.
When you see his neck, it's the neck.
It's the neck.
Well, they didn't show the neck.
Well,
They showed a chin.
Yeah,
well.
but still, I was like, I already know this voice.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah,
this
you can
voice
see
from
part of the
last season of
Middle.
Mandalorian.
So does that? Are we going to see Jabba the Hutt? Is this? Are we? Can we? Will we?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think this is
it's
just like one of those
little.
one-off references.
The
Although
exception could be, and this would be crazy, is if the Bad Batch has to go to Tatooine somehow and we see Muchi and Gen. Just, I don't know, like maybe they have to go to Tatooine somehow and they end up running
could.
into Obi-Wan or something. Like that could be a storyline now that they've introduced Bib.
And some little kid that they have to
Obi-Wan.
save.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. What if that's the last episode?
What is that?
I mean, well, I mean that there is a Wrecker beat him into submission. So now there's a kinship, where the kid's
Mhm.
riding the girl creature into the town. But yeah, I mean, it can easily be one of those things to where if they run into them again, or they need some kind of situation or whatever,
Yeah.
she could play into that. But although I hope that at the same time, there's one of those things where they go to different planets and they meet different people from any of the movies or Clone Wars, and like, oh, hey, Jar Jar, or hey, third person from the left on the planet Hoth. So I mean, so I don't know. I mean,
Man.
I mean, okay, so it's not a far reach that Jabba has been involved with bounty hunters, and they are targets for bounty hunters. Could they be captured and taken to Jabba, and Muchi saves them?
Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
just saying, I'm just throwing it out there.
if if at this point Boba and Finnick are already working together, and Boba has worked for Jabba before a lot in the past.
I don't think they're working together yet, are they?
I mean,
We
they
don't
could
know.
they could write that
She's-
in.
She's with, she could be with the Bounty Hunter Guild. And maybe Boba's part of that.
Well,
So
that's
that
true.
could find, when we know that, he's put bounties out on people before, he had freaking Han Solo on his wall. So yeah, there could be the possibility of that, but I mean, also we have to also, at the same time, maybe other parties can play into that and maybe get him to do that so that, their buddy can show up and take him out.
I don't know. I'm just putting a cord in a jar with that one. I'm just gonna say that could happen, right?
It can happen. At the same time, it's like how much. Sometimes it goes on that line of being fan service as opposed to something that works well for the story. But I guess we'll see. We have again 50 million episodes to go. So
well, we got to get more of Crosshair and all that. We got another side story.
Well, yeah,
going
we
on.
still have. We don't know where he is. He could be eating cereal right now. So eating the clone cereal,
eating slop.
Yeah, whatever they eat in that dining area of the Long Neckians.
The Long Neckians, the Loch Nessians. All right. Well, I think we should wrap this up. It was a great and fun episode, but let's find out what we thought. Our final thoughts, our score, 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. But before we do, if you're listening to this review, we want to thank you for hanging out with us. We hope you're enjoying this review and many others that we have on the site, which include all the Bad Batch, all the Mandalorians, WandaVision, and we got Loki coming up.
That was creepy.
That's creepy.
I don't know what that means. Like,
I don't either. But if you guys want to help us out, it's really easy to do. All you have to do is hit the subscribe button or share with a friend, and that really goes a long way. And if you want to leave some comments, we'd love to hear your thoughts down below. And let's take a moment to thank our patrons over at Patreon, because without them we wouldn't be able to do Heroes and Droids, Decades of Horror, Horror News Radio, and Gruesome Magazine, and Tongue Twisters. I would never do a tongue twister ever. And let's do it. Slattman, you are up first, sir. What is your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene?
I really liked this episode. It was fun, even though it didn't really progress the story much. It progressed it enough, considering that we have like 15 billion more episodes to go. I think it pulled us in just enough to want us to know more. But it was fun then, and it was just a jolly good time. Like from the moment they landed and they got the mission to the time that they got back to Sid's office, it was just I would say like almost nonstop, like just boom, 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 good moment, good moment, good moment, good moment. Like, and that's what I feel like, just like what Christopher said earlier. This is what we kind of expected the show to be when they announced it. And if this is what a lot of the rest of the season is, if we get important exposition episode, and then another one of these for the next 3 episodes, I wouldn't be upset, because I love this formula. I love the little salt on top of the episode that is this overarching story, but the meat is just so much fun to enjoy. Turning into Christopher with my food analogies.
Going full chef on that one.
I'm gonna give this one a 4.5. It's just fun. It's great. It's good, and I love how they show the strengths of each character. And Omega showing that she's a part of the group, and she needs to be a part of the mission because she's just as reliable and she's just as capable as the rest of them. And I think that's another little sprinkle of salt on the overarching story that they're planting through these episodes, and it's great. And my favorite moment is I'm sorry if I steal it. It's the moment when the cage opens and the little Rancor is on screen
Yes.
for the first time.
That is a great moment. I think we should just all pick that and just be done. Yeah, I'm surprised you're doing salt instead of sugar. Most people would do sugar. You're doing salt, but hey,
You gotta salt the steak. You don't sugar the steak.
no, you don't sugar the steak. No, okay, I'm slow.
This is
We've
not
established
Food Wars. This
We've
is
established it. All right, up next is Vanessa. Vanessa, what is your final thought, your score, or favorite scene?
I think I'm hungry. That's my final.
Roast
No,
beast.
roast beast. I totally agree with Chris. This was such a fun episode. I had such a good time. It felt like it just flew by as you're watching it. You start it and it's over. Because it's just straight action and a good time. I love seeing Omega take the lead and get them out of this precarious situation that they're in, and her continually showing that she's growing and that she's in touch with something, that none of them are. She's finding out all these abilities that she has, and she's becoming better and better at them. And I love how they're developing that. And I just love the humor in this series. It's so well placed, and it makes for such memorable moments. One of my favorite moments, not my favorite scene, but my favorite moment, is when the slavers, the cat people, come on board the ship that Omega's on with Gonk, and she's like, "Gonk, hide!" And he's like, and he turns off.
Yes,
And then they knock on him, and they just keep going. That's so funny to me. And just cute to put in there. But this is, I agree. I hope we get more episodes like this, even if they're scattered throughout, because it was just really, really fun. I think I'm going to give this one, I'm going to match it. I'm going to give it 4.5 too, because I think that's a good score for this one. And my favorite scene is actually when Omega discovers who Sid is, and then she radios into them, "I found Sid," and they all turn over and look at her over there with Sid. And she just waves to them. I just thought that was so cute and fun.
Yep.
And really shows that she's a part of the team and she can be useful.
Yep. It's not a toy. It's not a toy. All right, Christopher T4, what is your final thoughts, your score, or favorite scene?
I came to this new idea that, and this is a weird reference, but Hunter and Wrecker are like the Wharfs, and Omega is the Wesley Crusher of the group. Because the Wharf always got the crap beat out of him. But yeah, I think this is the episode I was definitely wanting out of the series in general. I mean, it's very selfish, but I really wanted it to just be like the A-team of the Star Wars universe, them going to planets, taking jobs, going on the next one, saving people. So sort of like what some of the episodes of The Mandalorian were kind of like too, which I really enjoyed. And I think this is definitely a fun episode. And I think, definitely one of those episodes where we realize that Omega is just not some little kid, that she does have some smarts about her. Possibly force smarts. And she can step up when she needs to sort of help them out. And it helps to have a big cute monster as well. So yeah, this is a fun ride, and of course I loved anytime we can have references to the original trilogy. I'm all about that. So having a little bit of Bib Fortuna in there was that extra spicy ingredient that I loved. So I can put a little food analogy in there too.
He was so young and smooth too when we saw him in this.
But still not so good looking. Still kind of a little bit of grody. But before he got the COVID weight later on.
He got all the way to Mando.
Yeah. Before he had too many of those frogs and the little globe thingies. But yeah, I'll give it a 4.5 as well. And I'm going to get a little bit different Muchi scene. I think, of course, I have to go with my Wrecker scene with Muchi, where he basically has to show dominance by just trying to beat the crap. But by the end of it, he's just as winded as Muchi is, but he's a little bit less winded. So I think just, having to show dominance in the same way that sometimes you have to show dominance with, I don't think animal trainers have to beat the crap out of animals. Hopefully not. Pete will come after you, but I mean, you can do that in Star Wars universe. And I think it's both brutal, but cute at the same So almost like when they used to have like break horses back in the day.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, I think that's probably my favorite scene. Of course, I'm always impartial to anything that Wrecker does. And although I'm still constantly worried every time he gets one of those headaches, like, no, Wrecker. So somebody posted a meme about that. If they kill off Wrecker, if they do something to Wrecker,
we riot.
Yeah, we riot.
He did have
Like
a little
Daryl.
bit of a pinch this episode too, right?
Yeah. So I mean, little by little, it seems to be hitting him more. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
So I have an interesting theory about that. If we've got time, Doc.
Now's the time.
Okay. So the reason I brought up possibly running into Obi-Wan on Tatooine and bringing back in Muchi is, what if that is the moment when his chip acts up, and that's when Omega steps in and tells him and like basically helps him deactivate the chip again.
Maybe. I think whatever Tech is working on, he was working on that device to try to test it. So it could have something to do with that. Maybe he's got the device working, or
if they run into Rex at some point, he can probably help them.
Oh yeah.
A way
well,
to get that out.
And that would also be a moment where the chip would cause him to just go haywire and start attacking the deserter.
Yeah.
Or I guess the whole Bad Batch are the deserters at this point.
Yeah.
So maybe my theory doesn't make as much sense as I thought it did in my head. Oh well.
I'm sure it'll all work out. So for me, I enjoyed this as well. I wanted a little more story development, so I'm giving it a 4.25 just because of that. But at the same time, I agree with Vanessa. It flew by so fast. It was just a fun episode, and I will concede that it does need to have a breather every once in a while, and this is fine. It just feels like, well, we need the episode where Omega gets her bow, and that's what this episode is, right? And, so I'm a little worried about that, but not enough to really go after it, but because they're filling it up with so much fun, having Bib Fortuna show up and and have the Rancor being a little baby Rancor and seeing what that's like is just a delight. And being a fan of the original trilogy when it came out, that's of course it's like gold, right? When you get more of that. So in that respect, I'm very happy with it. So it remained high for me, not as high as the three of you, but I could easily be coerced into giving it 4.5 if you guys, were to twist my arm.
Do we need to come over there and beat the crap out of you to submission?
Do I need to stick Wrecker on you?
You'd have to establish dominance.
You give me that WandaVision look again. I don't like
that. So, but my favorite scene, it absolutely is when Muchi comes out. But if it's not that, and I can't choose the dominant scene, I'm going to have to go with Omega kind of coming to her own and going in for the rescue, right? And they're all trapped there, they at the water fountain. Everybody's got the little devices on them, and there she is, and they're like, "Oh, we don't have to look very far," and they see her crawling around and making her way to it. So the fact that she's this brave little girl, right? We've seen it before, but this is even more so, right? And she really is kind of out of her league, really, if you think about it, but yet she's got that courage and that strength to to go in and save her family. You feel that, and I really appreciate that. So I'll go with that.
And they show how innocent she is too when they're talking about the slave traders and explaining to her what that means and how they're buying and selling people, and she's like, "That's not right." That seemed like a very they're talking to the kids in that moment, sort of. But it's so good to see that growth in her, her learning that kind of lesson, which is going to play in later on. They made such a big deal out of it.
Yeah, they're a smart group of people. They know what they're doing. They're laying these bricks down. So when we get to the latter half of this, it's all going to come together, and these beats that you're talking about and the things that you're noticing right there are going to come back and get us good. And
what if she becomes the leader of the clone resistance because the clones all feel like they're slaves to the Empire?
And she would be the one to do it, right?
Bum bum bum.
That sounds like a Star Wars title.
The Clone
Slaves to the
Resistance.
Empire.
Yeah, well, that, yeah.
Sounds
Oh
like
my
a
God.
great novel.
It's probably been made. We just don't know about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all for listening, and we hope you enjoyed this review. Vanessa, Slattman, Christopher G. Moore, thank you for joining me. This was a fun discussion as always, and looking forward to 11 more episodes.
Oh, I thought it was 15
trillion.
billion.
No,
11
more
trillion new
All the way-
episodes.
all the way through August. We'll be talking about this, and in between that, we'll be talking about Loki coming up next week or so, and films. There's movies coming out. We've got more than we can possibly handle. It's going to be so much fun. But in the meantime, we'll see you back for episode 6. All right, guys, let's say good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.